Okay, I'm going to be going over the answers for the Chapter 6 test. And so in order for you to be prepared to retake this test, you need to watch this video and you need to take note of how I solved the problems and what I did compared to how you tried to solve the problem and figure out your error. And you need to turn in your errors completely fixed and explained in order to retake the Chapter 6 test. Okay, so for number 1, 320% expressed as a mixed number in simplest form. Okay, so what I know about 320% is that it's over 100%. Therefore, when it tells me I need a mixed number, I know that 3 is going to be my whole number. So I'm going to write that as 3 and something. So then I'm going to knock that off, and now I just have my 20%. And as a benchmark percentage, that comes out of fifths. So I know that 20% is 1/5. So there's the mixed number for number 1. So I'm going to write that 3 and 1/5. Number 2, 9% expressed as a decimal. Okay, anytime that we are converting percentage to a decimal, we are dividing by 100. Okay, because to create a percentage, you have to multiply by 100. So you need to do the opposite when you're going to go the other way. So right now my decimal is right here because I can't see it. And if I can't see it, that means it's at the very end of my number. So to divide by 100 means I'm going to move my decimal backward or to the left twice. So that is going to end up being 0.09. I'll write that here. Number 3, 2 1/3 expressed as a percent. Okay, so I have my 2 1/3. And so again, now I'm kind of doing the opposite of what I did up here. So I know when I had 3 1/5, it equated to 320%. So I know that my 2 is going to be 200 something. And now I know my 1/3. I know that in my mind, the decimal for 1/3 is 0.33. So I'm just going to put that right here, 233%. Okay, and my last one is number 4, 62 over 120 as a percentage. Now you could do this any number of ways. You could just do the straight division where you do 62 divided by 120. That would work. Or you could figure out how to turn 120 equivalent to 100. So that's probably the way I would do it. 62 over 120. Well, I can't do straight to 100 from here. But what I can do is I can divide this by 2, and that's going to give me 31 over 60. And then what I can do to 60 is I can, well, I guess that wouldn't work as well as I thought it would. If I divided it by 10, that would give me over 10, but then that would make this a crazy, that would just make it 3.1. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. And so then I could take this and then multiply it. Oops. No, we're not dividing this by 10. Okay, I already made a mistake. All right. We're going to start that over. 62 over 120 divided by 2. I'm going to keep that. That was correct. But then, yeah, I messed that up in my mind. I want to divide it by 6, not by 10. So then that's going to take it to 10 here. And then 31 divided by 6, I don't know. Let's do that down here. So 6 into 31 is 5. 30. 1 0 1. So it's going to be a decimal, so then this isn't going to work nearly as well. But if you'll notice here, it says rounded to the nearest whole, so your answer isn't going to be an even number or a whole number anyway, so that part doesn't really matter. So if I take this 5.1, it's going to be 6, 4, 0, and then here 6. So if I'm going to round this to the nearest whole, then it's going to end up being about 52% once I round it. Okay, so those are those first 4. Now down here, it says find the quantity represented by each percentage. So this is just a straight percentage problem. So 20% of 180. So the way that I solve these problems is I take my number that I'm trying to figure the percentage of, and then I'm going to multiply it by the decimal of this percent. And so if I convert 20% to a decimal, that is 0.2. And so I'm just going to multiply it by 0.2 over here, 0, 6, 3, and I have 1 decimal place, and so 20% of 180 is 36. Okay, same thing here, 95% of $1,350. So I'm going to take my 1,350, and I'm going to multiply it by the decimal version of this guy, which is 0.95. 0, 5, 2, 7, 6, 0, 0, 5, 27 plus 4 is 31. I'm going to run out of space over here. 9, 10, 11, 12. So 0, 5, 12, 8, 2, 1. So my final over here is $1,282.50. And then here, I'm going to just work over here. 85% of blank is that 136? Yes. Okay. So remember I said the other day that if you can find 1%, you can find anything. So that's really what we want to do here. So if I'm going to take this number and I am going to find 1%, I'm going to divide it by 85, right? And that's going to give me 1%, which means that's what I'm going to do over on this side. So 136 divided by 85. Okay, well, what is that? That's going to be 185, 1, 5. And then I'm going to have my decimal here. So 85 into 510. I have no idea. So let's figure that out. Let's do 85 times 5. 5, 2, 42. Oh, I can fit it in one more time. So 85, 6, 0, 48. Oh, perfect. 6. So I know it's going to be 1.6. And then now, because that is 1%, I need to multiply it by 100 to get 100%. So my answer is going to be 160. Okay, let's turn the page. Okay. Of the 800 people at a concert, 42% of them are teenagers. How many are teenagers? Again, straight percentage. 800 times 0.42, 0, 0, 16, 0, 0, 0, 32, 0, 0, 6, 3, 3. 2 decimal places right there, so that's 336 teenagers. Okay. 9, a table costs $350. There's also sales tax of 7%, so how much does the table cost? This is exactly what we did in 6.4 when you came and met with me and we talked about your answers. So all it is finding 7% of this number and then adding it onto there. So 350 times 0.07, 0, 5, 3, 24, 0, 0, 0, 0, oh, all zeros, duh. 0, 5, 4, 2. Okay, so that tells me 2 decimal places that the tax itself is going to be $24.50. But that's not my answer. My answer is what is the total cost of the table? So now I have $350 plus $350 plus $24.50 gives me $374.50. Okay. So right here, the extra credit is the amount of water in a bottle is reduced by 85% to 120 milliliters. So that means that 120 milliliters represents, after you take away 85% from 100, what does that leave you? It leaves you 15%. So it's one of these problems, 15% of a blank equals 120. Well, that's just like the other problem that we did. So now we need to divide this by 15 in order to get our 1%. So we're going to divide this guy over here by 15. So what is 120? So 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, 90, 105, 120, which is 8. Okay, so 120 divided by 15 is 8. And then that's our equals 1%. And when we multiply it by 100, it's going to tell us our total 800 milliliters. Okay, last one. I think Mark's getting tired holding the camera here. Mrs. Benitez earns $3,400 every month. She spends 25% of her earnings on rent and 30% of the remainder for transportation. How much does she spend on transportation? Okay, so 25% of her earnings on rent. So let's figure that out first. So we have $3,400 times the 0.25, 0, 0, 0, 2, 17, 0. And then we have 0, 0, 8, 6. So 0, 0, 0, 15, 6, 7, 8. So she spends $850 on rent. Okay, but that's not the answer. So then we take that amount of money and we subtract it from her total earnings. So we have $3,400 minus $850, 0, borrow, 5, 33 minus 8 is 25. So now she has $2,550 left for the rest of her money after she pays her rent. So it says 30% of the remainder for transportation. So all we have to do is find 30% of this guy. So 0.3, 0. Or we could have just done 0.3. I guess I wasted a step. Okay, 0. So there's 0, 15, 16, and 7. So our total, $765. So she spends $765 on transportation. Okay, those are all of the answers for the Chapter 6 test. I want you to go back through this video, look at your test versus what we just talked about, and I want you to find your errors, and I want you to explain to me how you would solve this problem. Once that we have had that, after we meet in a small group and we discuss that you know how to solve these problems, then you will be eligible to retake the test.